and then lockdown hit and gyms shut. So that's one thing I noticed, because it just made me think, oh, that guy's making more than double I am, and he's charging more. He's probably making triple. Oh God, I'm thinking too smart here. Probably that first 5 years, I'd not a ghoster. I wouldn't even say I had a ghoster now, but I had zero ghoster, zero clue. The hardest things you do in life are the things that you tend to value the most. And it's the things that give your life most meaning, I believe.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Founders Unscripted, and I'm joined by a guest today who I've known since we were probably 8 years old, and a lot of stories to tell, a lot of different experiences in life and his business as well, which we'll dive into. So, Mr. Stephen Gauld, The Infinite Project. First question for you, my man. What do you value most in life? Because you're a unique guy.
That's a good question. What do I value most in life? Probably would be family. Probably would be one of the biggest needs. Either family or peace. Just being at peace, if that makes sense. Just the simplicity of life. That's probably the thing I most value in life.
Even though you just off the back are running a 50-mile challenge and run at the weekend, how does peace in that align?
Well, I guess that's a good point, actually. No, I guess the highest thing I would probably value, probably would be family, and then apart from that, it probably would be, well, thinking about that, if I really think about it, probably would be like growth, challenge. I find that quite addictive, like pushing yourself into a place of discomfort and figuring out what potential you've got in you.
Nice. Has that always been there?
Yeah, probably to a certain extent. Probably since I was young, a certain extent. Not in all areas of life, certainly in school. Like I had no challenge in school. Yeah. Didn't I hear that at school? Maybe with Fitba, I'd probably want to improve as a Fitba player, and I found that exciting. I enjoyed the process of training and try to get better. Yeah. So it probably has always been there since I was young, to a certain extent. But then probably in other areas in life, it probably wasn't there, and probably evolved into business as a kind of started in business, and over time, probably wasn't there in the very beginning, but it kind of grew as time went on, I would have said.
Yeah, so you've touched on a few things there, but give us an insight in terms of the upbringing of Stephen Gauld, your surroundings with business, because I know obviously family, businesses, etc. Give us a snapshot in terms of that journey up to kind of where you are today in terms of your career and business.
So, well, I left school at, I think was I 15 or 16, and had no idea what I would do. Had no qualifications. I left some of the exams early to go play Fitba, just a shambles. So I had no idea if I was going to do with my life. And we had a family farm, grew spuds, grew tatties, and Dad says, right, well, you're not lying about like a lazy little twat. Come on, you'll come and help you at the farm. So, right, okay. So I was picking tatties to begin with. That was my first job. Brutal, absolutely brutal, sitting at a tatty line picking out flipping tatties. But it was good, because I was probably at the time the only my pals that was working. Earning minimum wage, thinking I was loaded. I was absolutely loving life. So that was the initial thing. And being part of the family business, I did enjoy that. I was massively focused on Fitba. That was probably the biggest thing. I was like, oh, I'd love to play Fitba professionally, but it never happened. I was dreaming that would happen, but that was kind of like my goal when I was a youngster. That was my kind of vision in life. I was like, oh, I was going to be a Fitba player because I love playing Fitba. So I didn't really care what I wanted to do. So I was working on the farm, family farm, and I did enjoy that, but I just didn't hear I said I was just buzzing for it, but looking back, I do kind of miss it to a certain extent. There was something about farming, it's quite, I can't fit it is, it sounds a bit wishy-washy, but being out in nature and that, it sounds a bit wishy-washy, but there's something about working the ground and that, I can't explain it. So I did farming for, oh God, when I was 16 till I think we stopped maybe when I was 22. The kind of tatty job was extremely volatile. You were having, that was probably one of the things that I remember growing up with my dad. He'd obviously been in business and run the farm with my granddad, and I'd seen the volatility in business and challenge he went through and the huge risks he took. The risks I've taken in my own life look pathetic. He took massive risks, so I kind of grew up around that, and he was quite open with me when I was young. He would tell me, look, we've done this and we've done that, and it's a bit of a gamble, but so I kind of really respected that, and that probably gave me a bit of oomph, you could say, to try and push on in my own business. Yeah. So did that till I was 22, let's say, and then we kind of ended up kind of stopping the farming due to a whole host of reasons, and to be honest, it just didn't make sense longevity-wise. It was so volatile, and I kind of said to my dad, didn't I keep this going for me, man?
So is that kind of a pivotal point on?
Oh, absolutely.
Does my son Stephen, has he got an interest in the farm? Do we keep going? Was that the kind
Not
of
even
decision
that,
maker?
because I would have said I was interested at that point, but it was probably the best year in Tatties we'd ever had. Probably one of the best years ever. Like from a profitability standpoint, like it was fantastic. It was best since probably the 70s. So it was kind of like, that's what I kind of said to my dad, like, it's kind of like you've done it really well to get this point. Like if you go back in, there was a huge investment, required a lot of machinery, and it was a big gamble, and if the prices dropped again next year, you could be in a huge loss, and then it's like, what is the point? So I kind of said, look, well, why not kind of quit while you're ahead kind of idea? Didn't worry about me. And I'd literally kind of, at that point, kind of gotten into a little bit more nutrition, the gym, because I wanted to get better Fitba. I wanted to get stronger in the Fitba pitch. So that kind of piqued my interest in that kind of area. And then I ended up seeing a half price, I think it was like a half price personal training course. It was like mostly online, you go down to London for it. I thought, fuck, I'll just do that so I can gain a little bit more. No intention at all of going down that road. But it was just to kind of, more for my own personal knowledge.
Learn from it. Yeah.
Yes. So that's kind of how I ended up getting into that. And then from there, once kind of stopped the family farm, it was kind of like, shit, fit my KD then. Right, I need to find something. So I was like, well, I've need qualifications. So, well, I've just done this course, so I'll give it a blast. So it wasn't even like it was like, oh, it's my passion. I've always wanted to be a personal trainer. Absolutely not. It was more a case of I was kind of put into it. And then from there, that's when I kind of started the business. And the first few years were brutal. I mean, I was very lucky. I was one, living at home, and two, had no outgoings really, because I would never have survived. I would have jacked it in the first 6 months.
Yeah. What changed?
I don't know. I think it just, you probably got to a point where you kind of build up a bit of momentum maybe, for you start to, I don't know. The first few years were brutal. Like I had no idea about marketing. I had no idea what to post. I was posting things like, you should drink 2 liters of water a day. It's like, for fuck's sake. I had no idea if I was posting, no idea if I was doing. I had zero leads coming out. It was just hopefully. So it was brutal. So you were literally starting off with 0 clients. I made up a home gym in that, invested a bit of money in that. And like I said, I had no outgoings, and I was living at home. So I was very lucky I could afford to max fuck all at that point. But it took a while to build up a client base, and it was all done through word of mouth. I had nothing else in place.
And what were you offering back then? Because I know it's obviously changed a lot over the years. Is it more just kind of one-to-one in-person sessions? And
yes,
one-to-one advice.
One-to-one personal training session. Like back then, it was just a one-to-one PT session for an hour. There was not really nothing else to it. There was no really on a like huge focus on goal setting, accountability, and all those kind of things. It was more just come along for a PT session. And I'll help you. And a lot of folk would come along and really enjoy it, and you'd have folk biding with you for a long, long time. So it was good, and you were working with folk every single week, and I did enjoy that aspect to it. You start to become really kind of friendly with a lot of folk. So I did really enjoy that bit. Back in, that was it. There was no, I remember even thinking, I had no cancellation policy in place. There was no like, it was just kind of like, hopefully folk turn up this week. And, some weeks, you'd have weeks where folk would turn up, and then you'd have weeks where you're like, oh my God, everybody's ill or can't manage. Oh, well, I've got no money this month. It was brutal. It was brutal, but yeah, I guess knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have started a business like that.
Yeah, so how did things, was the momentum purely just through kind of word of mouth, getting decent results for clients, or were you kind of learning different business strategies and marketing strategies along the way, or how did that?
Well, back in, I would have said it from 2013 to 2018, probably that first 5 years, I had not a ghoster. I wouldn't even say I had a ghoster now, but I had zero ghoster, zero clue. So marketing-wise, I had nothing in place, absolutely nothing. I know why I documented results, zero. It only came from word of mouth. Folks saying, oh, I'm going to such and such, getting on really well. Oh, I'll give them a shout. That's literally, I would have said 100% of the folk who were coming into the business were through that. There was nothing in place. But like obviously that changed. But up until 2018, the way I run the business, it did start to change. I ended up going to I think it was a fitness event. It was really weird. Sometimes, I don't know if you're into this, but the universe and that, I sometimes think stuff lands in your lap, and then you're like, oh, it's weird how that landed, and that landed to something else and something else. Well, I remember there was this leaflet came in. I can't even mind where I got the leaflet for, and it was for this fitness thing for personal trainers. It was in London, and there was going to be all these guest speakers. And I remember just thinking, maybe I should just go to that. It'd be quite good to just go and see if I can learn something. And I headed down to that. No, sorry, it was the first thing I went to this fitness expo. That's what it was. Then I got a leaflet. That's what it was, and it was for this event in London. So this fitness expo I went to, it was Body Power. That's what it was called, down in Birmingham. And all the top bodybuilders and fitness influencers were out there. And it was quite good to go do, and you see all these physiques and that. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. But I remember this leaflet landed, and there was somebody speaking, and there was a leaflet on the floor, and I picked it up. And the guy it was for this event. I thought, maybe we'll go at it. So it was really weird how I just happened to look down and pick up that one leaflet, because I never heard of the guy. So I went to that event in London, and I remember queuing to get in. I was shit myself, thinking, oh God, what the hell am I going into here? And there was quite a lot of folk there. And I remember speaking to just a couple of their personal trainers at the time. And I remember speaking to one guy, and I remember at that point I thought, I'm kind of doing all right. I'm kind of doing maybe lucky if I'm making average wage. If I'm lucky, I'm working a lot, I'm doing okay. That's maybe good for a personal trainer. I may be doing really well, because I kind of think there's a bit of a stigma, but I think folk generally think that personal trainers, that much money maybe. And I probably thought
maybe
like
it
that
was
now.
more so back then.
More so maybe back then, because folk did sometimes think, what are you doing? Personal training?
Need that for.
If you're doing that, you're not get much can you not get much more than that?
Yeah.
But I mean, speaking to a guy at the door, and he was telling me, I was like, oh, Ken, fit do you do? And he was explaining, and he must have had maybe 3 times the clients I had. And I remember thinking, fit? I've never heard of anybody working with as many folk as that. And I thought I was busy, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's working double hours I am.
20 hours a day.
Oh, just ridiculous. And that was once I did that, I ended up fully booking and probably getting to the point where I was too busy. So I think I gave him a lot of belief, seeing somebody else who'd said, oh, I can't remember if he said, like, say I was at the time doing 25 sessions a week. I was like, oh God, I'm flat out. That's kind of limit. And this guy's like, I'm doing 45. Getting 40,
And just
45.
Same model.
Same model, yeah. And things kind of took off from that change in mindset. That's one thing I noticed, because it just made me think, oh, that guy's making more than double I am, and he's charging more. He's probably making triple. Oh God, I'm thinking too smart here. I'm stuck in my little bubble in Aberdeenshire, and I didn't even speak to anybody. And then I've spoke to this guy who's, and he was, Ken, that was quite an eye opener, and it was quite in a good way. It kind of made you realise, wow, there's other folk doing way more than I am. I'm thinking so small. Because I remember Googling, how much does a personal trainer earn? That's when I started up in business.
Before ChatGPT.
Before ChatGPT, back in Google, ask Jeeves probably. Put it in there, and then it comes up, and it gave me the average in the UK, and I was like, oh, that's what I'll aim for. That's my goal. And then you meet somebody who's like, oh man, I'm way off it. But I mind going to that event. There was a few speakers there, and there was a guy there. I did his. It was like a business course and then a nutrition course, and it was a little bit more advanced, and it was really good. I found it really interesting. And I did that, and that gave me a little bit of foundations with regards to actually running a business. And then I ended up working with a mentor, worked with Phil Graham. He was one of the talkers there, and that was probably the biggest thing. That was the biggest pivotal point, hands down. Working with him was insane. Like he got you to run it as an actual business. He helped you build your offer, the back end systems, like how everything worked. Game changer. Like, learned so much for him. Like 90% of a fit of the days probably come from what I learned for him back in almost. Well, 75% at least. Like, he gave you just the huge foundations. And again, like the mindset side of stuff, the way he thought about business, incredible. Absolutely incredible.
What's some of the main things that stood out to you early on, kind of going through that experience with the coaching and mentoring with Phil, that you were like, that is going to just really scale my business for me?
I think it was his vision. He's just for the day I first met him, like he was doing well. But I mean, he's making ridiculous probably amounts of money nowadays. Like he's doing incredibly well. He was nowhere near that back then, and he was speaking about that back then. Like that's what he was going to do. Conviction. Yeah. I've never met anybody with such conviction, and that's what I really admired about him. Like there's other folk I've met who are they've got their eyes set on a goal or a target, and they're very confident they get hit. But there was something about him, like he had so much conviction, and he often spoke about vision. You need to be, clear on exactly where you're heading. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things I took away. And then just thinking a bit bigger, like he was setting goals that kind of almost sounded a little bit like, Jesus, man, that's a fair goal you're setting there. Like, but you had such conviction in it, you almost thought, I think he'll do that.
It's going to happen.
And he is, like, so hats off to him, like, so.
Yeah, so that impacted you in terms of how you thought
Yes.
and operated in your
Yes.
business as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Nice.
It just made me, I realised that, like, you know, we've all got I would just say a self-limiting belief, like, but for what we kind of think we actually can achieve in every area of life. And I think working with him, it kind of broke through some of that, and you kind of thought, wow, okay. And probably being in a room with other, because he worked with a lot of like kind of fitness businesses back then, and you were in a room with businesses that were doing 5 times, 10 times more than, you know, the amount of clients, the amount of revenue. So it was fascinating, you know, sitting next to somebody who's, you know, thinking on a completely different, you know, level. Yeah, absolutely. And they're talking about, oh, you know, remember that, you know, some of the guys in there had teams of 15 folk working for them. You're like, holy crap, God, that's nuts. Okay, and so it was amazing getting to meet folk like that and speak to them. And but no, that was probably the thing. Back in 2018, I think I joined him. That was probably the thing that things really, you know, pivoted. Probably my own self-belief, confidence in fit. I was getting D in business, and it was exciting. It was really exciting. Like, he was quite, you know, focused on, like I say, vision, but he was quite focused on like mindset, and that was probably my first introduction to quote unquote personal development. Let's say working on yourself, getting clearer on your own vision, your own values. That was probably the first time I dipped my toe into that, and I would have said before, what a load of shite. But then once you dipped your toe in it, you're like, I think some folk abuse it a little bit. It's like they almost get a dopamine hit from I'm working on me, when sometimes it's like, you know, you just need to do the actual work. But I think I took a lot of office. You know, some of the things we did with him were brilliant. It probably, again, laid the foundations.
So going back to 2018 to 2016 now, if you was to look back at last 8 years, what's been some of the biggest personal development, right, the woo-woo stuff, that you've seen personally change in yourself?
It's a good question. It's probably been two moments I think at the top of my head, excluding any like family things and that, but like if you're talking business and like just things I've done, like one was probably COVID. Like that was a massive self-development lesson. Because I mean, at the time, you know, we'll go back to lockdown, the business was doing really well. I was kind of fully booked. I was kind of thinking, right, what's the next stage here? I've got a wait list. This is great, but far am I going for here? And the next step was probably like, right, well, maybe I could buy a premises. Let's go look at buying a building. We'll maybe take on coaches, starting to plan all that out. And there was a few places I was looking at, and I was in the midst of getting lending. And thank God they took so long to get the lending in place, because, you know, there was a few places I looked at, and if I'd gone ahead, I would have been screwed. So I would have dumped all my savings into, you know, potentially a building, and then lockdown hit and gyms shut.
Yeah, it's costs.
Oh,
yeah.
And I mean, at the time, you know, probably 97% of my revenue was from my one-to-one business, and then we had a little bit online with like 3 clients maybe, but like the huge chunk of it.
Yeah.
So it was just turned off overnight, and that was like, oh crap, oh no, what am I doing now? But that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because at that time I was working so much, like, you know, given so much time and energy, working long hours, and I was also, it was almost like a crossroads. It was like either get the facility or I jack it in and I come away from the industry, do something different.
Just not loving it anymore, or
it was just
consuming you?
Yeah, probably. It wasn't even consuming me. Like, it was a weird place, because like it was like things were going so well, but I was like getting up really early in the mornings. I'm sort of like a really lazy bastard. I was getting up, I was getting up before, I was leaving the house at 5:30, and then getting to the gym, out with my mum's there, working with clients all day, back to back, maybe getting a little break for lunch, and then coming home at like 9:15, 9:30, 9:15 at night, going to bed to repeat. And then you ended up, because you were self-employed, you ended up not taking holidays. You're like, well, I'll take holidays, I've got no income for the week, plus I'll hate to go and spend. So that was the stupid mindset I had. So then, like, some years, if we didn't go anywhere, it was like, you get to the end of the year and go, I'm taking a week off. You maybe had an odd day off now and again, sure, but you never take holidays. And I kind of thought, this is shite. Like, what the hell? I'm coming home at night to go to sleep, to go to work again. I was like, this is pointless. So I was probably a moment I was probably ready to jack it then. I was kind of like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm losing the love for it, because it's like, I feel like I pictured myself with a ball and chain. I was like tied to it, and I'm like, I'm Dean Ahan, this is this is crap. So that was probably a pivotal moment. And then, like I say, we got towards the facility, looking at doing something like that. And then obviously lockdown hit, and the only option was you need to build an online business. So again, I was with Phil at the time, and having him in my corner at that moment was, if I hadn't had him, I would have been probably maybe back into farming or something. I wouldn't have, what else would I have done, Yeah.
So what did he implement at that stage? Is that when you kind of 97% of the one-to-ones was overnight? Yeah. You had 3% online. It's like, right, let's just fucking double down on that.
Yeah, well, I remember back then we kind of transitioned to, give people an offer to do something online. We did a lot of like Zoom classes and stuff like that to begin with, just to kind of keep people engaged. Folk were at home at the time, but he just helped me build the foundations, right? This is how you build the systems you need in place to get somebody a result. He helped me, build out everything in the back end, everything I needed to help somebody get a result, create my offer, improve my marketing. It kind of gave me it was probably the first time I actually had time to do all that stuff, because I was so busy working one-to-one with clients all the time. Now I had a bit of chance to go, right, okay, let's actually build this thing. And probably within 2 months from what the business was doing previously, we probably doubled it in 2 months, like literally just took off. It was a bit of freak time, lockdown, because folk were stuck at home, bored, nothing to do. A lot of folk were on, they were getting paid to stay at home, and their expenses were way down. So the market was nuts, like absolutely nuts.
I remember being on some of your Zooms. And press ups in the living room.
Yeah, bloody hell, got it. I think we're doing 6 of them a week. I think we're doing 6 of them a week at one point. But it was actually good fun. But it was like, I was like, if this is online coaching, I'm not doing that for the rest of my days. But it was good fun at the time. But it was a very unique moment, lockdown, and there was a lot of coaches. Their businesses just took off.
Was there some also just?
Yes. 100%. You'd see a lot of people a year later that were out in the industry altogether. I think it was just try to keep yourself. It's like level-headed almost. When things are going extremely well, like I remember Phil used to say this. Don't get too high in the highs, don't get too low in the lows. So I think there was people in there who got very high in the highs, and potentially like maybe their income had gone mad overnight, and they're getting all these clients like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And their expenses went the same way with it. And then all of a sudden, the bubble kind of burst and things kind of went back to quote unquote normal. And it was like, oh no, this isn't going to work.
Yeah, and it's that. It's back to the whole COVID piece. I think it was for every business or anyone that was kind of entrepreneurial, an assessment and reflection time, wasn't it? It was like,
aye.
I remember when it hit for us, Ashley was pregnant with Mila, and it was like, is this it? So much control happened over my finances here, because when I was day rate contracting as a project manager in oil and gas at the time, working 5 days a week for them, decent money, and then it was literally like overnight 20% pay cut, and you're down to 2.5 days a week.
Yeah,
take it or leave it.
Yeah, it's out of your control. Yeah,
out of your control, but it makes time for other things.
Yeah,
I think I seen 2 different paths that happened. Lockdown was those that fuck it, they're on the booze every night, on the Zoom calls, on the quizzes and all that stuff. Yeah. And then there was other folk who doubled down. So when you say you went down that path of doubling down, and it's clearly.
Yeah. In business or in on health, like a lot of people got into fitness, I would have said, in lockdown, let's say, in COVID. But yeah, you're right. I think I've seen a massive shift since then, and just in general across the board, that folks seem to realise they value things out with career and work a little bit more. Not that they've lost the drive for that, but they value having the time to go and spend time with family, go and do certain things, have a bit of maybe a social life. I think folk have realised fit really is important, because like you say, it's almost like pull the brakes on. And it was such a unique moment in history for everybody's at home, and you'd have this almost free time to a certain extent, and it's how you used it, really.
Yeah. So then scaling the online side of things, then revenue sounds like it's doubled in a couple of months. And then you said that kind of bubble burst, right? Yeah. So I guess you had that high, you try to stay stable with the high and then get carried away with it. But then once that bubble did burst, was there fear around it? What was the kind of thought processes then, or did you have to adapt and rebuild the business again?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think like I say, that first, I would say even year was crazy. Like you could literally just say, like, we're looking for clients, and you would get loads of messages. You're like, oh my God, this is nuts. Yeah, ridiculous. Like you can't do that nowadays. That doesn't happen nowadays, absolutely not. But it was such a unique moment in time. I guess off the back of off the back of that, I guess like it did slow down after the kind of first year, and it slowed down. 22, 23, I would have said it was a little bit slower, and then 24 definitely I would have said it's changed again, and you've seen a lot of people that potentially maybe aren't in the industry now, or have maybe gone back into the gym, kind of the gym floor kind of stuff. You did see a lot of that in some of the groups I was in, just with other coaches. But yeah, things like the thing I've tried to focus on with my business is getting results and showcasing that, because like it's kind of like the proof's in the pudding. And again, probably 9 out of 10 people that come and work with me, usually it's because they've seen someone get a result. It's not because, oh, you do a really good value post. You know what I mean? It's like, usually they've seen, I can that person, they've got a result, oh, I'm going to give him a shout. As opposed to, like I say, oh, he's really engaging carousels. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's interesting, isn't it? And so I guess it's almost a form of referral marketing, isn't it?
Yes,
somebody, they're directly that client referring you to somebody else, but they're seeing the results that you're getting for them, and that's huge. So I know, obviously, having been ken you for years, but you've now got what feels like a really good community built within your current clients.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious thing, or did that just organically happen by getting good results for people, which is then attracting more people like them? Mm-hmm. Because I'm guessing here, right, but when you started doing your one-to-one, it was like you just take on anyone who needed a bit of support training. Whereas now, are you quite specialised in what you're offering? Are you targeting certain people? Because when I touched on it yet, but you're obviously quite active in competing and stuff. We have collectively as well, so we'll go into that. But, does that then mean because you're personally like competing and racing and all this types of things automatically attract? Are you finding that's what attracting the same type of people?
That's a good question. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the people...
I just realised that was a long-winded question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd say with the community thing, like, again, probably a year and a half ago, I probably came at a crossroads again. I seem to become a lot of these. Again, business had been doing very well and had everything I've ever wanted with the business. I'm like, everything's going great. But I remember maybe a year and a half ago, maybe close to 2 years, I remember thinking one day, is this it? I'm spending all my time now alone in my office. We've got loads of clients, got great results. Everything else is tick, 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 but I'm alone all the time. Wasn't seeing anyone. And we didn't have that much of a community really back then either. So that was probably the loneliest I've ever felt. And I kind of thought, again, maybe I should look at doing something else here. And then I asked myself one morning, I says, I'm writing in my journal, if we took like money providing, add that out of the equation. Say you win the lottery and you just got to go do something you love. What would you do? And I really thought about that for a wee while, and I thought I would build up a community and I would just train for things. I love training for things. I would train for events, high rocks, runs, because I love seeing folk go through that process as well. And I was like, I'd love to build something that folk would come together, and almost getting back to like the Fitbit days where you feel like you're part of a team and you've got training and all that kind of stuff. That's what I thought we'd build. I was like, I'd love to do that. So then I thought, well, why not just do that? And it was probably the first time I've kind of just jacked in that even setting the goal as a revenue target or something like that in business. It was like, I'm just getting folks to build a community because I'm passionate about that.
And hopefully the revenue comes as a byproduct.
Yeah, because I thought, well, if I do this right and I get folk together and I get people results and I can build something that folk want to be a part of, and that compounds, the revenue will take care of itself. So that's probably the first time I didn't focus on the revenue, and I just focused on, right, let's build a community. So building the community was, something I really wanted to do, and it's growing every 3 months. It's getting a little bit better. But yeah, like, because I was really into running, like marathons, half marathons, ultras, high rocks, all that kind of stuff. I absolutely love that process of training for something and having a deadline in front of you. Like, I really enjoyed that, and I found that other people really enjoyed that. And I think people potentially, but this is the thing I was thinking about. I've thought about this a lot. Like, some of the best clients I've worked with that have had tremendous transformations at the beginning are not that person. They're not, oh, I want to do a high rocks, or I fancy an ultra. Nobody's ever said that at the beginning. Like, a lot of them are quite often like, okay, I just want to lose some weight. I just want to feel good again. I just want to hate energy. I'm fed up with my Kleisner fan. So like, it's quite difficult in a way figuring out who those people are, because I think maybe deep down there's something in them. They're like, oh, I'd love to do something like that, but I didn't think I could. Yeah, and I think when you take somebody through that process, and maybe they go through a lot of fat loss, they lose a lot of body weight, and you push them out their comfort zone to go and do something, and then they do it, and then they go, oh wow, wonder if it else is a good day. And then it just takes off from there. Like that, I love seeing that. Absolutely love seeing that.
And is that quite mirrored in your own fitness journey, would you say? So do you find that then your marketing becomes a hell of a lot easier because you've been in that process, you're going through that process, and people can see your own transformation, which they go,
yes,
I want a bit of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. Because I think, well, again, probably going back to like 22, 23, 2022, maybe 2022 was it? After lockdown and that, I'd only really spent most of my time in the gym. I was hitting the gym a lot. I was kind of really visually physique focused, but I was just kind of bored of it. I've been doing it for years, since I was probably 18, 19, and going through spells of getting in good shape, going through spells when I really couldn't be arsed, and I was kind of really fed up. And I remember watching YouTube. I'm a big YouTube fan, so I was watching YouTube, watching this guy, Nick Bear.
Ghost videos.
Yeah, odd ghost video of that, or Black Panthers in the Aberdeenshire. I was watching this guy, Nick Bear, and he was like a bodybuilder guy, and he went and did an Ironman. And I went thinking, oh, wow, I wonder if it would be like to train for something like that. And then I just thought, fuck it, I'm going to go sign up. So I signed up to a half Ironman down in England. And I was probably, again, personally, it was a massive pivot. Because I went and did that, and I was like, I can't swim. I went to the pool the next day, and I could just about get to the other end, front crawl, one length, and I had to stop at the end. And I had to breaststroke the rest of it, and I was like, I'm going to hit doggy paddle this at the end. So I was like, right, I'm going to learn to swim. Okay, it's a new challenge. And then getting out on the bike, and then building up my running. And that whole process, that was probably something that changed my life. Like going through the training, I remember jumping on the bike and hitting 50 mile to do indoors, and it was snowing. And we had something on at 10 a.m. with the kids. So I was like, right, well, I'm going to get up at 5 and jump on the bike. And it was brutal, but I was like, it built a lot of self-respect, maybe to a certain extent. Discipline as well. Yeah, discipline, absolutely. Because like, I need to do this. And I loved having that big overarching goal, because it's very easy in life to just kind of glory on, is it?
Yeah, get pulled.
Even in business. Life, yeah, it's like, well, I suppose it'd be good if it happens. But you sign up to the event, it's like, shit. If I'm there ready, I'm screwed.
I'm exposed here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then completing that was like, oh, well, that was amazing. And then after that, that's probably when I started to focus on, right, well, if else can I go and do? That's when High Rocks came. And then, I've never done an ultra. Let's see if we can do. And then just got hooked after that. Where now it's like, going back to probably what Phil said, it's like I've kind of replicated that into my own personal fitness journey, let's say, where I've got like a North Star. I'm like, right, I've got a vision of how I perform, look in 3 years from now. And I'm just working back. And every year I'm like, a little bit quicker. I'm moving closer and closer to it. And that I find so exciting. It makes training mean something. Makes your Dean mean something versus turning up.
That's mad. I was saying to you the other week, actually, this week actually, after the 10K, about I was having that. So I didn't feel like I've got a North Star, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like I need that next goal.
Yeah.
So it was, this year it's been High Rocks doubles.
Yeah.
We're going for the PB. We're trying to push that sub 60. I didn't quite get it because you swore at the rest of it when I get into that. And then it's like, but it was that High Rocks that made me go, because that was probably the most I committed to the actual process.
Yes,
and like,
absolutely.
Didn't pick up injuries.
Yep.
Didn't pick up excuses, which is a big thing as well for a lot of people.
100%.
And then getting that 6-minute improvement in the time made me go, I feel I've got there.
Yeah, 100%.
It was like a switch for me as well. And then the 10K result and the personal growth, I think it comes from the challenge, the struggle, the battling with your mind to tell you to get the fuck outside when it's pissing or rain.
Yeah.
And you do feel like
it. Yeah, absolutely.
It's huge.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So is that something that you think's beneficial for everyone to have, that personal challenge as well to grow?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I think the most important thing is you meet yourself where you're at right now. Because at the beginning, if you're starting out and you're maybe listening to this thinking, I need to hit a personal challenge. Let's go do an ultra. And you've never run a 5K before. It's too big a jump. You need to just meet somebody doing their first 5K sometimes is as hard as somebody doing their 5th marathon, let's say. It's our relative. But no, I think it is so beneficial having something that challenges you. Because like life is, I was reading a book, what the hell's the book called again? It's something about comfort. I can't remember if it's called now, but it's idea with the whole guy's talking about how comfortable life is nowadays. It doesn't need to be discomfort. You can order takeaway, you can get everything delivered at the door, you've got a million TV series on the TV. You can live a comfortable life, if you want to. And I think that's why, if you look at like ultras and all these kind of things and high roxes, and it sucks when you're doing them. It's really uncomfortable, but the hardest things you do in life are the things that you tend to value the most. And it's the things that give your life most meaning, I believe. So I think there's I think people are missing that. And I think that's probably why I wanted to build for, the way I wanted to build Infinite, and that it was kind of around that as well, because I think folk are missing that almost like maybe it's a survival thing, maybe it's in your DNA where you've got that challenge, because challenge is what grows you. If life's like, if you started up your business tomorrow and went, millionaire, that was easy. You wouldn't evaluate versus the struggle, the ups and downs, and I think that's, like you spoke about the high rocks, like, think about the ups and downs there is with that, with training, the mindset battles. Gosh, I've got to go and do that session, I can't be arsed. It's brutal, but once you do it and you get to that finish line and you cross it, it's like, fuck, I did that.
Yeah. So going back to your own personal challenges then, because I find it so fucking interesting then. So you've mentioned ultras, you've mentioned high roxes. Give us a journey from A to Z on how that's looked and how like you've progressed and timings and...
Yeah. So like I say, I spent most of my time in the gym. Probably, was it before lockdown or maybe just after lockdown? I signed up to, I think it was the Loch Ness E-Tap. It was like a 66-mile cycle. And I thought, I bought a bike and started biking. I was quite enjoying that. It was good getting out and about. But I wasn't really driven like, I've got to do a time or a pace. I just did it for a bit of enjoyment. I did that 2 years on the trot. And then again, like I say, 22, 23, I was a bit bored with training. I was just kind of like turning up. And then that's when I signed up for the half Ironman. And that's probably the first thing I did. And then off the back of that, I think I did an ultra with Ian Tomlins. We thought, let's go do a 50K. We'll just train for it and we'll do it in our backyard. We'll run to the coast and back. Did that, flipping brutal, absolutely brutal. I actually scrapped that. Before that, I did a marathon. I joined this mindset program thing, and in this program, it was over the summer, near long after lockdown, and he had to set an 8-week goal, a physical one as well. And I thought, marathon, let's do it. So 8 weeks probably wasn't enough, and it was absolutely brutal. I remember getting to like mile 8 and my knee locked up, and oh man, that was absolutely savage. And then off the back of that, I ended up doing I think it was the 50K, even though I said I was never going to run again. Then did the first high rocks down the road with Ian there, and then it kind of went on from there. Did another ultra, and then last year we did the 100K. That was brutal, absolutely brutal, but again, loved it. And then just this last weekend we did the 50 miler and managed to get a podium. So that was one of my goals after last year. Probably a year and a half ago, I decided, right, let's take things to the next level. What does that look like? I want a podium. I want to be pushing for a podium. I'm nowhere near at it now. I'm miles off at it just now, but I think that would be really fun to push myself. Maybe it's a stupid target to set, but I'll get to go and try and do it. But with the ultras, like talking about personal lessons, let's say, they are definitely probably the biggest ones I've taken away from it. Like when you're in the absolute shit of it, you're broken, your body's in agony, you're like, I don't know what to run another 100 meters. And you look at your watch and you've got 20 miles left. It's just like, try to get through that mentally is brutal, but it's also highly addictive in a sadistic kind of way. Like there's something about putting yourself into that. And it's funny, like when you're in that place of kind of, I'm going to say exhaustion, but just when you feel broken, it's just, everything just goes quiet. Like I remember on Saturday, there was a moment I was like it was just, my brain just stopped. And I was just there. And I couldn't even listen to music. Put the music on, like, it's annoying me. It was so uncomfortable. But I find that like when you get through that and you get through the other end, it's like, I think that's where you get a lot of your quote unquote life lessons. Like you can replicate into life, business. Like when things get hard, keep putting one step forward. It'll get better. Like there was miles that you're like, feeling a bit better again now, and then all of a sudden you're in the pits of it again.
Do you find that you understand yourself a bit better when you're in those moments?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when life hits you in the face, or whatever it is hits you in the face, and you're in the pits of it, it's like, who are you in those situations? Like, hey, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not perfect. There's times where I throw the toys out the pram. Can I check in myself? I think everybody does. We're a human, we're a emotional creatures, let's say. There's times where like when shit hits the fan and you freak out. But I think it's like I've always taken a lot of after like some of the Stoics. I've always found them very interesting, and quite often a lot of the stuff that's happening in our lives is out with our control. But it's the control lies in how you react, your reaction to it. So I found that, and I find that with ultras, like when I'm really struggling to get to the end, like using that, like I get to choose how I react to this. Like it's get hurt, it's get really hurt, and mentally it's get feel like a year till I'm there, but I get to control how I react to it. I forgot for your last question.
No, you're all good. You're all good. It's just made me think on there when you were speaking about like you're massive on personal development now, right?
Yes.
But I find it so interesting. And like, when was it? 2019. We'd known each other since we were 8-year-old, right? Competed against each other at football, played together at football, and we never realised that we were both so passionate about personal development until we were away in Edinburgh.
Yeah, that's right.
With the group of friends that we've got. Mrs. is our wife's our pals as well. And then I said to you, I'm going down to a kind of business conference thing next week.
That's right.
And you were like, what's that? And then it was a Grant Cardone thing, wasn't it?
That's right.
And then you're like, I'm coming. And then that whole night we were like, it was like a whole new connection was born, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How valuable has that been for you in terms of like being surrounded by people that think that same way? Because you mentioned Phil Graham had a massive impact on you, but I know you've had constant different mentors along the way for different things. What's your take on, you are a coach, but getting coached and having that kind of someone a wee bit further ahead than you to surround yourself with?
I think it's unbelievably valuable. Like learning from somebody that's further ahead for you, that's gone through some of the ups and downs already, that can give you clarity through the fog. I think it's unbelievably valuable. But I think every person I've worked with or who's coached me, like I worked with Joe Parrish, I learned a lot from Joe. I worked with a guy, Neil Shoney, you were the same, the marketing guy. He was brilliant as well. Like I took away something from all of them. They've all helped. I think it is huge having that. Like I would never be where I'm at today if it wasn't for probably back then joining Phil, and then it's kind of along the way I've gotten a lot of help from different people, and like I think if you're trying to do it all and figure it out yourself, it's going to be a much either slower or longer journey. And I think it's like it was. I remember the first time I worked with Phil, it was a massive investment for me at the time. It was like, this is a risk. This doesn't turn out. Yeah. I'm in trouble. Like, what do I do? But I'd never regret it. It's like, you've got to be, I think you've got to be open and willing to invest in yourself and have a bit of risk if you're hoping to do it, kind of go through life and do it in not a half-arsed way, but try to do it taking shortcuts. I think you end up stuck in the mud.
Yeah, cutting yourself.
Aye, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's your kind of vision with the business at the minute? You mentioned community, right? And from outside, knowing you pretty well, it seems like everything's well aligned at the minute. Were you like even the whole rebrand when you done to the Infinite project? It seemed to align with your whole vision of your North Star, right? And then what you're personally challenging yourself to with your challenges and your fitness side of things, right? But where do you feel you're at the minute, and where do you feel the vision is?
Again, it's probably just building that community. So we've recently, bought a big shed unit. So one of my dreams, probably 2 years ago, was, like I say, when I thought about what would it look like if I could do this and it was doing it for fun. It was like I'd love a facility, a performance kind of headquarters where people come together, train together. I didn't know what to go back to PT coaching or nothing like that, but I wanted to build an environment where folk could come together, train for events together. So like that's probably the biggest thing I'm trying to build, is getting more people into that, because people didn't realize what they're capable of. And once they do realize, like you spoke about a minute ago about flicking the switch, like that last High Rocks, and like I always, I've said that. Well, I think I said it to you last week. I was like, I think that's when the switch flicked, and I see it happen with clients when they'll do something and it's like, that's a change.
What is that? So as you're coaching hat on to me now, because you've seen it probably more than I have. What makes you think there's that click?
I think it's when you
or switch. Sorry.
I think it's a realization that you can do more. I think it's realizing, because everybody's got I remember, I think it was Joe that told me this years ago. I'm sure it was Joe Parrish, but he spoke about the glass ceiling effect. Like every level you're at, it's like your self-limiting beliefs. And every time you do something that previous you thinks, nah, no way, you break through that and go into the next level. I think it's when you have a monumental shift and you go through 2 or 3 levels, your brain goes, oh, wow. So whether it's doing something, that the previous version you would think, there's no way I could do that. It's like if you do look at the first High Rocks you did with me, like if it was at an hour 14, if I said to you, you'll be doing near 101 next, you 14 minutes off. Nah, no way, man. It would have felt like, nah, no chance. But then when you break through that ceiling and realize, oh my God, I did that. I think that's when the switch flicks. And usually it's doing something hard. Like I've seen it happen with countless clients. It's usually after doing an event or doing something. And like everybody's switch is different. Like I think if you're lucky, it can happen earlier on. But some people, it takes a wee while. Because it's been taking a wee bit of time to happen with you. You could argue, but
yeah, a couple of years.
Yeah, really. And then it's like boom. And then once you do that, it's like training suddenly ramps up, consistency suddenly ramps up, and you start setting bigger goals.
Yeah, I just found there's a clear intention with training now.
Yeah.
Whereas it felt like before when you didn't have that same like drive or achievement thing, it was like, oh fuck, the plan says that, right? Bear.
It was like tick the box.
Easy enough to do. Whereas if you've got that like, fucking hell, right? Okay, we're growth minded here. We're going to be pushing it. And I think that's the same in business, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I remember
absolutely.
Mutual guy we know through Joe, Scott McDonald.
Yes.
Was his saying that he sent in a voice note to Joe? I'll always remember it. I can't wait to meet the man that I'll become at the end of this.
Yeah, he was doing was that a 24-hour run or something like that? It was something like that, and he voice noted him and says, right, I'm in absolutely agony just now, and I want to stop, but I'm so excited to meet who I'm going to become after this. I know, I always think about that as well, but it is true. But like, I think, when you think back over some of the things, like some of your biggest lessons in life and things like that, it's quite often come off the back of hardship or challenge. Usually it's like a tricky time in business, but you come through the other end, or you're doing a race and you're really struggling, or you have a bad week or an injury, and then you come out the other end. I think that's when you really, I don't know, it gives things more meaning. And like you say, like you mentioned, your training, since that flick switch, let's say, like your training's become more intentional. Like you say, you've got a speed session to do. You're like, oh, what's this? Why I'm doing this? This is helping me with this.
Yeah.
Versus, I've got to go and take that.
Yeah.
Different mindset.
Yeah. Do you think that's similar in business though for people? So where maybe they face a bit of a challenge in business, whether that's a financial challenge or whether that's whatever, like how key do you think mindset is in all of that? Like, is that fundamental? Oh,
it's again foundational. Like you're the engine in the business, whether you're working a lot in it or not working in it at all, and you've got a team. Like you're the vision, you're the engine. So like when you're not working at your fullest capacity, everything else suffers. And like that's probably one of the biggest lessons I've had in business over the years is like if I don't look after myself, don't look after my own head, and I'm turning up in half-arsing business suffers. And it's not in the short run, it's usually in the long haul. In the short run, you'll get off with a, unproductive week or three, but then 3 months later you go, man, it's quiet. Oh, maybe that's because I stopped doing X, Y, and Z over the last few months. So I think mindset's huge. It's just making sure you're looking after yourself. I think if you go back, even back into 2018, 2019, there was a huge, like, you'd say maybe work, hustle. And like, I think you've only got so much bandwidth and capacity. Like, depends what you're doing. If you're doing something that doesn't require much up here, then yeah, sure, you can blast in some crazy hours. But I think, if you're doing creative work or you're trying to plan or build systems or coach folk, there's only so much you can do in a day. Like, you're not going to be like, oh, I've done 18 hours of voice notes a day. You turn into Joker or something, you'll feel horrendous. So I think it's looking after your energy and making sure you're keeping that engine well oiled and moving in the right direction.
Yeah. So would you say you're quite a structured and routine guy?
Usually, aye. 90% of the time. I would say the last few months have been tricky. Just moving house and stuff. We've had so many different moving parts, so much things to sort out. So I found that, and since having kids, that's definitely made things harder with regards to structure. Because back in the day, with no kids, I was very, very routine. It was like up at 5:45, office 6 a.m, first work block 6 a.m. to 8:30, breakfast 8:30, run 10. It was now it's like fucking kids up at 4, get back to sleep. I woke up at 7 on. So that's really, really hard. But I try to, again, like with some of the coaching we do, it's try to help folk be adaptable and still. I think when you have kids as well, you learn that the hard way. You've got to learn to adapt. Yeah. So you're not gonna hit the perfect work week, perfect work day. It's like,
oh, sorry, you can't get your bottle just now because I'm doing this. Wait 2 hours.
Sorry, I've got a 20-minute meditation session, so you can sit down. It doesn't happen. So usually I think you need to be structured, or else. Because that's probably the thing I remember thinking, I kind of miss that. Like when I used to do the PT sessions, it was unbelievably structured. It was like slot. This is when I start work. This is when I finish work. When you've got an online business, it's like fill it in. So either one or two things would happen. One, you would either waste time doing a lot of shallow work, filling in the time, and then you'd not get enough done. Or two, you'd end up working ridiculous hours. You'd end up working all the time. There was never an on and off switch. So I found that really hard, and that's something I've had to get probably since being kids. That's really helped. It's like, well, no, I'm in at 4:30. I'm in at 5. I'm in at 4. I'll open up the laptop. Nothing else to do. It's just working out. So no, I think it's you need that structure.
What's other things that you do touching on structure that maybe helps cut negativity, distractions, or eliminates that? Because something that came to mind there is we both in common wouldn't really watch the news or like shite TV.
Yeah.
What other things are things that maybe somebody, a wee bit of tip, I guess, for everyone in terms of cutting distractions, getting more focused, if you could provide.
Yeah, no, I think, one's just having a bloody routine. I think that definitely helps. Like, I've looked at all the kind of the morning routines, and some of them are like, I remember listening to a guy, I'll get a laugh. This was at one of the groups, and maybe it was Phil's group, I can't remember whose it was. And there was this guy, and he lived in Australia. He was an online coach. He had a huge business, and he was going over his morning routine. So it was like, I get up in the morning, and I do 30 minutes meditation. I do 20 minutes deep journal work. I go down to the beach. I swim under the sunken shipwreck and swim around and look at all the fish, and then I come back. I do an hour walk, and then I have my first meal of the day, and then I start work. And I was like, fucking hell.
Summertime.
I'm thinking, oh my God, that seems a bit nuts. So like, I think like having some sort of routine, just something to get you into focus, I think helps. But with regards to your mind, I think journaling's been massive for me. That's something, like I've journaled in two different ways. Like there's one method called morning pages. So literally when I do this, I find it very useful. As soon as you get up, I do it on the computer. I've got an app called Day One. It's all like password protected and stuff because you need to feel confident that you can write, Ken, Abby's left the dishes out last night, raging. If she doesn't read it, I'm joking. But you want to feel confident that you just read it so you can actually be, if you're thinking, I better not say that because somebody might read it. So morning pages, you write, it's up to 3 pages, and you just splurge. And it's amazing what comes up. Just anything comes to your mind. And sometimes you'll read back through it and be like, that was weird. But you have all these different ideas, and it's kind of almost a way of like, it's almost like clearing the RAM or clearing out the tabs in your computer. Yeah, absolutely. So journaling, I think, has been absolutely brilliant. Another thing I've always done this for years since I've been in business. I think it's only since I've been in business. And it sounds really weird saying this, but it's like talking to yourself. Now, you're going to think I'm flipping crazy here, but quite often, this is something I've done. I find it really useful. If I've gone through something incredibly stressful and you're like, fuck's sake, this has just happened, or stress has gotten too much, I'll go out for a walk, and I'll walk one direction for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and on that direction, I just let the emotional side of me speak. Fucking raging because of this has happened, I just let every worry and thought that comes to my mind, I just speak it out loud. I'm in the country, so nobody can hear you. So I do that one direction, then the other way back, I try to be more rational. I go, right, okay, let's actually look at this through a proper lens. Like, what is actually the problem here? Okay, right, I'm overreacting because of this. Actually, when we look at things as a whole, this is okay. Like, and it just calms you again. So I find that's been something I use. It's like crisis management, you could say. Because if I don't do something like that, I just find it goes round and around your head. And you're sitting there at night and you're not sleeping, you're thinking, oh God, what about this? How am I going to sort that out? How am I going to do here? So that's something I've always done. I found that really, really useful.
Big self-awareness.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's probably, I worked with performance therapist, you could almost say, 2 years ago? And that was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I remember some of the things he'd asked me and questions he'd asked me, and there's things from when I was at school, there's things when I was a kid. There was ways that I'd viewed the world back then that were affecting how I was viewing things today. There was things that happened to me that my brain was still almost in a weird way reacting to it. And I found that fascinating. There's so many things I discovered about myself, and then I thought, wow, that's why I act like that. That's why I react to that situation. So I think, again, it goes back to investing in yourself, because that was definitely a worthwhile investment, because I learned a lot. I really learned a lot. But I think going back to what you were asking, I think reading as well, or audiobooks, podcasts. I can't remember the name of the guy I follow on Instagram. He often speaks about how what you put in your body affects your health and how your body looks, and what you put in your mind affects how you think. So I think if you get stuck scrolling shite under the sun, it's no wonder you're going to think a specific way, let's say. And like you said, when you're in amongst other people who are like-minded or thinking 3 levels above you, that rubs off on you. Versus if you're stuck in your own little bubble, it's probably what I did wrong back in the early years. When you're amongst people who are quote-unquote operators who think on a different level, it's like, wow, okay, I'm thinking really small here. I'm not even thinking about that. It just gets you to realise, wow, maybe I could do something like that.
Yeah, that retreat we went to in Portugal was a big realisation for me on that. There's one guy living out in Bali from a UK one-man band turning over £1 million a year, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, and I remember speaking to the guy,
many
you
different
never in a million years I guessed it.
Yeah.
Really nice guy, and I remember he was like, oh yeah, I need to get a virtual assistant at some point, but I'll maybe do it. And I remember he was telling me all about what he was doing, and I remember someone said, oh yeah, he just turned over $1 million last year, and I'm like, what? That is nuts. It's mind-boggling. If you were to meet the guy, you'd never imagine in a million years, and it would probably have been highly profitable as well.
Aye, well, 100%.
Yeah.
The costs at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh well. Instagram, heavy, is that your main?
Yeah, probably Instagram, Facebook as well. Instagram and Facebook and podcast. We've got a podcast as well, the Infinite Project Podcast.
Nice.
Try to spit out the words.
Sharing lots of value in there.
Yeah, try to share, just advice around performance, fat loss. Try to get, some guest speakers on, tell stories as well.
Nice. And what's the next fitness event?
Next fitness event is High Rocks. High Rocks potentially, hopefully at the end of the year. High Rocks doubles.
You're forgetting your relay.
Relay, yes. Oh shit, I forgot about that. I forgot about the dates. Well, next event up's the baby. That's the big one.
Of course.
Hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Number 3.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Another new routine to find.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good, and they're only little for such a short period of time. But the relay is the next one. That'll be brilliant. So, like I said, it's always nice to have someone in the diary to aim for.
Yeah.
Because without that, it's very easy just to coast and tick boxes.
Love it. Well, man, appreciate your time.
No problem at all.
Hope you enjoyed that one.